You are very young. When we tell you the history of human rights in Uganda, you can even shed tears. Professionally, I was a commissioned army officer. A commissioned officer. I have lived in this world. This is my 74th year. Wow. 74th. I have been in Uganda for 74 years, in other words. I have seen all governments which were in Uganda. At least I saw many activities regarding human life in Uganda, which I can compare and contrast. It is very human to be free. Very human. As I've just told you, I have lived in Uganda and I've compared and contrasted what were in Uganda in the past and what is in Uganda these days. Human rights. The words came from intellectuals, those who went into classrooms. Otherwise, locally, people did not even know what is human rights. But people were just used to living together communally. But when intellectuals, so people who went into classrooms, they managed even to go to developed country, and then they came back to our country. They compare how the country where they went were living and how we were living. These were especially those who participated in the Second World War. Those who participated in the Second World War went to developed countries. To fight, to protect the integrity of human rights. Because activities of the Second World War was already violations of human rights. So our grandfathers were invited by our colonialists to go and protect the human rights which were being abused by a well-known German called Hitler. When our grandfathers came back from the Second World War in 1945-46, the demand was that we want to be governed by ourselves. It was a very difficult thing to understand. But it was understood gradually that these people who went to fight in the Second World War want to exercise the human rights they saw from there. And that was the demand for political independence. It was understood Because the colonialists came here and started governing us. We didn't even know. We didn't even know. We thought there was just too superior for us. But those who went to the Second World War came back to the knowledge that no, I think these people who came here to colonize us are violating human rights. And that's why we demanded for a political independence. And as I've just told you, it was understood. We were therefore granted independence. That you have demanded government by yourself, now govern yourself. We started. But did we respect the human rights we were demanding? Things went astray immediately after independence. Series of crises in our country came in terms of violations of human rights. In other words, we were not respecting the human rights we were demanding. We were not respecting at all. It continued like that. Worst of all, locally, in 1971, when the coup of Idi Amin came, this is a situation where people saw what is called human rights. Because the president, who was already the sovereign power, who should have respected human rights, did not show to the people of Uganda that human rights is respected. Thousands of people were massacred. So we were asking ourselves, why do you massacre people like this? I told you that I lived in all governments, but the worst of all was when Amin took over the government. You saw people are being killed. And that's why we started hearing violations of human rights. Violations of human rights. The intellectuals like you have defined what is human rights here in a very broad way. That you have the right to live, you have the right to live in a house, nobody should come and break into your house. You have the right to go to school, you have the right to eat food. So many, it is very broad, as I told you. But I am telling you, from 1971 is when we started even feeling the words human rights. Otherwise, we didn't even know. But when we saw people were being massacred, we started even learning more about what is human right. So crises were in the country. Crises were in the country. Many organizations of all human rights came in. Of course, the world supported Ugandans until when Amin was removed, thinking that human rights would be restored. But nothing of that sort came. You are very young. When we tell you the history of human rights in Uganda, you can even shed tears. Why should people kill themselves? Why should you kill your brother? Why should a government be responsible for killing people. The best example is Idi Amin's stuff. For us to know what is called human rights abuse.
Taking from that point to now, what is the human rights situation?
Good.